hi akaruna krura durmasha priya sahasa gnanti alpa arte api vishwabdam patim brataram api uta striyo hi akurana akrura durmashaha priya sahasa gananti alpate pi vishwaptam patim brataram api uta striyo hi akaruna akrura durmasha priya sahasa gananti alpate pi vishwaptam patim brataram api uta striyo hi akurana akrura durmasha priya sahasa gananti alpate pi vishwaptam patim brataram api uta striyo hi akurana akrura durmasha priya sahasa gnanti alpate pi vishwaptam patim brataram api uta striyo hi akurana akrura durmasha priya sahasa gnanti alpate pi vishwaptam patim brataram api uta striyo hi akaruna akrura durmasha priya sahasa gnanti alpate pi vishwaptam patim brataram api uta. Any of the ladies? Striyo hi akurana akrura durmasha priya sahasa gnanti alpate pi vishwaptam patim brataram api uta striya women he indeed akaruna merciless krura cunning durmasha intolerant priya sahasa for their own pleasure they can do anything gnanti they kill alpa arte, for a slight reason, api, indeed, vishraptam, faithful, patim, husband, brataram, brother, api, also, uta, it is said. Translation: women as a class are merciless and cunning. They cannot tolerate even a slight offense. For their own pleasure, they can do anything irreligious. And therefore, they do not fear killing even a faithful husband or brother. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. King Pururava was greatly attached to Urvashi. Yet, despite his faithfulness to her, she had left him. Now, considering that the king was wasting his rarely achieved human form of life, Urvashi frankly explained the nature of a woman. Because of her nature, a woman can respond to even a slight offense from her husband by not only leaving him, but even killing him if required. To say nothing of her husband, she can even kill her brother. That is a woman's nature. Therefore, in the material world, unless women are trained to be chaste and faithful to their husbands, there cannot be peace or prosperity in society. Striyo hi akaruna kruda durmasya priya saha saha gananti alpate pivishwaptam patim vrataram api uta. Women as a class are merciless and cunning. They cannot tolerate even a slight offense for their own pleasure. They can do anything irreligious, and therefore they do not fear killing even a faithful husband or brother. So these are very harsh words, huh? You may not like to hear, but one thing to note here, that these words were spoken by a woman. So I guess you have a certain right to criticize or expose your own kin, your own group. Huh? Just like I'm from a small country called Denmark, so if other people criticize Denmark, I may even take offense, or the other Danes may take offense, but if I criticize Denmark, I'm kind of criticizing myself. So I have a certain right or potency to criticize myself or my own group. Huh? So Urvashi, she's describing the nature of women in general, and actually herself specifically. She's being very honest here, and Prabhupada explains that she's considering that Pururava is wasting his rarely achieved human form of life, and therefore she is explaining the nature of women. So she's actually speaking out of compassion for Pururava. And in this way, even though she has acted according to the female nature by leaving Pururava, of course she warned him already when they got married. She told him that, I don't want to see you naked. And what was it? There was another condition. The 2 lamps that she brought with her, that he had to accept, they were part of the deal, her pets. As you all have heard the story, how it just so happened that one night the lamps, they were being taken away, but it was at a very inopportune moment, because Pururava and Urvashi, they were together and they were not dressed, but there was Urvashi was crying out, "Oh, please save my lamps!" And of course, as a henpecked husband, he couldn't be passive in this situation. As the classical quote from the wife, "Do something, do something." Whenever some problem arises, she expects the husband to solve the problem. So she was saying to Pururava, "Do something." So she didn't have to say twice, actually. She immediately got up and ran out to save the lamps. But it was just so, just one of these situations where everything comes together for the bad luck of Pururava, just as he was running after the lamps, even though it was in the dead of night, so normally he wouldn't, Urvashi would not be able to see him even though he was naked. But there was a lightning, I think it was. So all of a sudden he was in the full strobe light, dressed only in the 4 directions. And that was the end. Okay, I told you I don't want to see you like this. So she left. And in this way, she followed the nature of women as she is describing here, but she was able to see also, have some what do you call it, some introspection, or she was able to see herself, or see women in general from outside. She was not, even though she was definitely having that body, she was also acting according to that nature, but she could also see the fallacy or the danger. The thing is that somebody may think that the Bhagavatam is sexist because of such descriptions like this. But the fact of life in the material world is that for the materialists, beautiful women are God. They worship beautiful women, just like the devotees worship God. Here we worship Krishna every day. We dress up Krishna in a new fashion. We admire his beauty this way, that way. We glorify him, speak about his wonderful qualities, his charming personality. But the materialists, they do the same thing with beautiful women. They are totally surrendered. Just like when, after the turning of the milk ocean, when the demons, they snatched the nectar from the hand of Dhanvantari. But then, of course, as that is the nature of the demons, they could agree only to one thing, to disagree with the demigods. Among themselves, once they had the nectar, they immediately started quarreling and fighting about who should have the first share of the nectar. But then Mohini appeared on the scene, the most beautiful woman that ever has existed. She is Krishna. So when Krishna appears as a woman, she is more beautiful than the most beautiful. So they immediately surrendered. They were fully, enchanted by Mohini Murti. And so much so that they immediately decided this they could also agree on, that she should decide, they should give the nectar to her and she should distribute it. So since they felt, they saw indications that she was very favorable to them, she was smiling and charming them, that she would definitely give the nectar to them, not to the demigods, and they had full faith. Amazingly, they didn't even, it was the first time they saw her, but they just, so stupid. But it's typical. It's just a classical situation. Of course, Mohini immediately took the nectar, and while smiling at the demons, oh yes, you are very nice, and then she just went and gave it all to the demigods. And they were just sitting there. They couldn't do anything because, they had agreed that she should distribute the nectar. So it's like that. Also, Kansa, when the 8th child of Vasudeva and Devaki was born in the middle of the night, without his knowledge, Krishna was brought to Gokul and exchanged with Devi. Nanda Maharaj, Vasudeva brought back the little girl that Yashoda had given birth to, but when Kansa heard in the morning, he was just waiting for the child to be born, that 8th child, which would be the cause of his death according to the prophecy. And when he heard, when the guards, they heard crying from the prison cell, and they told Kansa, yes, now your cruel death is born. He rushed to the cell, and he didn't even consider this is a little girl. It was not. The prediction was that there was a son, the 8th son was going to kill me. So he didn't hesitate. He was speaking here about the cruel nature of women, as it's the cruel nature actually of every materialist. He is also merciless and ready to kill. Even he was ready to kill his own sister, and now he was ready to kill her child. He had already killed the 7 previous children, and he was just going to kill the 8th one. And but just as he took the newborn baby and was going to slam the child against the floor or whatever, the little girl slipped out of his hands and went up into the air and manifested her real form as Durga Devi, with how many 8 arms, and he immediately recognized, because as most of the demons, he was a worshipper of Mother Durga. So he, my goddess. And so then he became very, very, very regretful of the atrocities, because he was chastising him. You rascal! You were thinking that you can kill me because you understand that I will, otherwise I will kill you. But I can tell you that the child who's going to kill you is already born somewhere else. And then he had apparently a change of heart, but not really. It was just that, like the materialist, like other materialists, he worshipped, the female god. The demons, the Vedic demons, they worship Durga Devi. But the modern materialists, the modern demons, they worship Durga Devi's expansions in form of beautiful women. But it's ultimately the same thing. And they are so stupid. They beautiful women, they have such a power in this, especially in this modern world. The materialists, they're completely enamored. They're ready to do anything for beautiful women. So, it's really not a criticism. It's not an expression of hatred for women, what is said here. Especially, of course, it's spoken by a woman. It's just to wake up the materialists, make them understand. You are so enamored by beautiful women, but they're gonna, they will finish you. If you put your faith in them, you are finished. That is just a fact, and we see that also. Again and again, foolish, lusty men, they surrender to beautiful women, and they are betrayed, exploited in so many ways. Of course, the exploitation is mutual. The men are also exploiting the women, there's no doubt about it. But that is well known and very, very, discussed at great length today in the world. But the fact that men are being exploited by beautiful women, that is kind of taken as a given thing. It's not, of course, of course we want sex, and beautiful women is, they are the ones who can make life worthwhile. There's no question about it. But the real fact is that if somebody becomes overly attached to a woman, just like Pururava here, they will end up suffering miserably. Most of us, I suppose, we have already some experience of this. But we need to hear it again and again. And of course, if we don't have a higher taste, if we're not given an alternative to, loving beautiful women, then it's very hard to overcome this very strong attraction. But we are so lucky that, as I said, this inclination, this urge to worship, a beautiful person and try to please, that we are taught to direct towards Krishna. Therefore, this verse is there, which is in the Nectar of Devotion. Rupa Goswami states that if you are at all interested in friendship, society and love, then don't go to the bank of the Yamuna where Krishna is standing in his threefold bending form, playing his flute in the moonlight. Because once you see Krishna, you will forget all about, these other things that you are attracted to in this material world. So that verse is specifically spoken to illustrate the importance, the power of deity worship. Because all of these material tendencies we have, if we direct them towards Krishna, then we will develop a higher taste. We will gradually be able to give up this lower taste, which is simply enslaving us in material existence. So, therefore, the pujaris, they have an important job to worship Krishna so nicely that everyone who comes to the temple, their burning attention, as Prabhupada said, will be directed to Krishna. It works. There's no doubt about it, that if Krishna is worshipped very nicely in the temple, that will, and we come together and we worship Krishna together, we glorify him, we admire his beautiful form, that will give us a positive alternative to this attraction to material forms. Prabhupada told about an incident from his own experience that also illustrates the same point here, about how a materialistic woman is capable of performing any cruel act for her own sense gratification. There was a godbrother of his who, his wife was having an affair with somebody, and her son their son, he found out about it. And he told his mother that, I'm going to tell father about this, that you are having an affair. And what did she do? She killed him. She killed her own son. That's actually took place, and they were even, at least the husband was a disciple, godbrother of Prabhupada. But then, and he became so distraught that when he found out, that his wife had killed his son just to stop him from telling that she had an affair, then he killed himself. Such a tragedy. So, yeah, the world is full of this kind of stories of people who gave their hearts to a beautiful woman, and there's this expression, femme fatale. A femme fatale means I guess the direct translation, a fatal woman, a beautiful woman who is actually just going to destroy whoever falls in love with her. It's a well-known theme. So, yeah, we need to hear these things. We are not, we don't hate women, but the truth has to be spoken. That the materialistic woman, especially if she's beautiful, is very dangerous. That beauty is a trap. And we have to be very careful to not fall into such a trap, because we will suffer intensely. If Krishna's illusory energy was not attractive, then there wouldn't be that much of a problem, We'd all go back to Godhead. But because Maya is attractive to the conditioned soul, therefore we are having a problem. Therefore she is so dangerous. We didn't want to be attracted to Krishna. Therefore, we have to be attracted to something. It's the law of nature. Everything is based on attraction. So if we don't choose to turn away from Krishna, then Krishna has to arrange for something else that we can be attracted to. And it's also Krishna, as Krishna says, yad yad vimputimat sadvam srimad urditam evava chathat eva vagachatam mama tijam sasambhavaha. After explaining how his opulences are manifested in this material world in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he summarizes the whole thing. That he says, you should know, Arjuna, that whatever glorious or powerful or beautiful thing there is in this world, it's simply a manifestation of a spark of my splendor. So we can think like that. Krishna has created so many beautiful women from the point of view of the man. How beautiful he must be. Krishna is so beautiful that Once if we ever get the chance to meet Krishna, we will forget all about any material beauty, anything which otherwise attracts the conditioned souls in this material world. Anyway, there are other examples in the Bhagavatam of how intelligent ladies, they were preaching and explaining the nature of reality, even being very honest about the nature of women. We have also the story of Bilvamangala Thakur, who was so attached to this prostitute Chintamani that against all odds, he in the middle of a stormy night, he swam across a river by holding on to a dead body. To get into the house of Chintamani, get to her door, he climbed over the wall that was around the house by holding on to a snake. And he finally came to her door. All you can imagine how he had to look like, completely soaked and disheveled, his torn clothes, and he was there banging on the door, banging. She didn't, expect anybody on such a night and at such an hour. But finally heard somebody's banging and shouting her name. Finally she was so surprised. She came, she opened the door and she saw Bilvamangala in that condition. Oh, Chintamani, I couldn't live without you. I had to. She was so shocked. And she told him frankly, Bilvamangala, you are so attached to me. If you had such attraction for Krishna, you would be a great devotee. This was a turning. This was a turning point in the life of Bilvamangala Thakur. He didn't even bother to enter her house. He just turned around and basically he started out for Vrindavan. And later on he glorified he considered Chintamani, the prostitute, to be his guru, because it was her words that woke him up from his illusion. Female nature is there, but there are two things. The material nature is sometimes not possible to change, but even within that nature, or how to say, one can there's still the possibility of seeing things in a Krishna conscious way. And Hare Krishna. Any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Out of all the karmendriyas that we have, gnanendriyas. So everything begins with our eyes. Generally, when it comes to women, it is our eyes which will first distract us. So even in the story of Bilvamangal Thakur, we see Bilvamangal Thakur piercing his both the eyes, realizing that it is his eyes.
Yeah.
So how can we as devotees understand this and bring our eyes under control? Because even during chanting, we see it is our eyes which will first distract us. We will be chanting and somewhere we look and everything begins there.
Yeah, it's the eyes that first become attracted to the sense objects. But still, there's another sense which is more powerful, which is the tongue. Devotional service begins with the tongue, surprisingly enough. So we have to concentrate on using our senses in the service of Krishna. In one sense, it's all part of the same package. If we engage our senses in the service of Krishna, beginning with the tongue, by chanting Hare Krishna and tasting Krishna Prasadam, then the other senses can gradually also be engaged. And then there is no chance, like I said, the eyes want to see beautiful things. So we see the beautiful form of Krishna. That is the way to satisfy the eyes in a spiritual way. We have to be like the tortoise, as described in Bhagavad Gita. The tortoise has this ability to withdraw its senses, pull them back under the shell, and it only displays the senses when there is need. So we have to become like that also. We have to learn to control our senses, not to be controlled by the senses. That is the first business, yoga indriya samyama. The first business of a yogi is to control the senses. And we are moving around in the world. It wouldn't be practical if we all followed the example of Bilvamangala Thakur. Can you imagine? It's just a temple full of blind brahmacharis, groping to find their way to the temple room. That was a little, I don't think there's no danger. We're not going to do that. But we need our eyes to live in to live in this world. But we have to be very careful where we look. Looking once is not a problem, but looking twice is a problem. You see a beautiful woman, you cannot, you cannot avoid that. But, don't look a second time. It's the second look that gets us in trouble. Second and third and fourth and so on. You have to, only see what we need to see. And always be very, in a sense, afraid, but very very careful how we use these senses. They are like venomous serpents, and only when they are engaged in Krishna's service, then the fangs are broken, and they will not cause harm anymore. But until that, we have to be so careful. Always remember that we are in a very dangerous place. Just the other day I met here behind the temple, one lady came up to me, and she was good looking, but that was not the point. She had her daughter with her, and the daughter was looking, small daughter, 7 or 8 years old, and the daughter was looking at me like this. You know, this very fearful look, and the mother was saying, "Can you tell my daughter not to watch horror movies at midnight?" I felt sorry for this little girl, and you know, I was saying, "Oh, you really have so much faith that that I will." "Yeah, if you say, then she will not do." Okay, I patted her. I patted the little girl on the head, and I said, "Please don't do it." But I told the mother, yes, smartphones are very dangerous. And she understood, yes, she had experience, it's true. So we should know it for certain. This is one of the most dangerous things that we carry in our pocket. These little gadgets that immediately can connect us to all kinds of attractive objects of the eyes. So we have to be so careful. Adbhuta Hari, he was very surprised when I told him that I bought my first smartphone when I was here in November. It's a more safe path not to have a smartphone, but if I would tell you like that, you don't have so much. I don't know if I have told his mother, don't let her have the smartphone. It's probably, not possible, but at least we should know they're very dangerous. So we are surrounded by so many dangers in this world, and we have to move around very carefully. We have to tiptoe around in the world and know that any moment Maya can catch us and pull us away from Krishna consciousness, at least momentarily or for some time. Okay, we always have a chance to come back, but the further we allow ourselves to be deviated, the more difficult it is to come back. Therefore, better not to be victimized in the very first place. And even when we do get victimized from time to time, we should immediately, correct ourselves and bring ourselves back on the right path. And there are so many, like I said, smartphones can be used in Krishna service also. There's no doubt about it, but it's dangerous. There are other ways that we can engage our senses in a more safe way. If we want to read Prabhupada's books, we can read them on a smartphone, but it's dangerous. But when we pick up, a book like this, there is no such danger. There's nothing, it's not going to all of a sudden show a naked picture of a naked woman on the pages. It's very safe. So we can try to choose the more safe ways of engaging our senses. in Krishna service. That's a good tip, I think. When our senses are fully engaged in Krishna service, then we are safe. Then there is no chance that they can be engaged otherwise. Okay? Okay, I'll give a short answer to this question.
Hare Krishna. This is just confirmation. Many times we hear that Vrindavan is consciousness, or dog is like consciousness, woman is like consciousness. If some man also having that type of consciousness, will it consider as a woman only?
If some man has the consciousness of a woman,
yes.
Was that the answer? Was that it? Is that like the same as a woman? I'm not sure I understood the question.
Means here it is considered that how nature of woman is like cruel, or he is merciless. If some man also can have this. You gave the example of Kansa.
Definitely, I mean, this description here is, given of the nature of women, but the same thing applies to somebody who is attached to women, meaning a materialist. We shouldn't become, how to say, woman haters. It's everyone who is not a devotee can have no good qualities, as it is said. Yashasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarvai gunais chatra sumasutri sura harava bhaktasya kutoma manorajanasati. Devotees have all good qualities, but if you're not a devotee, then you can only, there can be actually nothing essentially good. That applies not only to materialistic women, but to materialistic men. But what is a materialistic man? Like I said, somebody who is attached to women instead of Krishna. That's in essence what it means to be a materialist. Hare Krishna. I will end here.